what makes you so unique. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. I am Nicole Everett, the host of Conversations with Nicole, a talk show based here in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And it is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020, and it's what I call What Women Want Wednesday. This is an opportunity for us to communicate, to have an interactive conversation with you and I and my guest. And I want to invite you all to comment, to tell us one, where you are tuning in from, and two, how was your day? Let me know how your day was today. I see a few of you already chiming in because you know I like to hear from you. I see you, Shantina, who is right here in Tallahassee. Thanks for watching. And Dr. Tiffany Packer, thank you for watching as well. She's right here in Tallahassee. So tonight, I have a very special guest. I know I say all of my guests are special, but it's very rare that I have my family on the show with me. So I got my family reunion shirt on because we are representing the Hicks out of the Suffolk, Virginia Tidewater area. So I wish I had the OJ's family reunion song in the background because that's what we normally play at the family reunion. But I'm super excited to have my cousin Sacil Armstrong on with me tonight. We both have grandmothers who were sisters, who are both no longer in this realm, but I'm so delighted to have her on here and pay tribute to our grandmothers by sharing this space in this conversation. So I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to you. But let me give a couple of more folks a shout out. I see you, Felicia Dilbert. Hey, sis. Lovely day. Love it. I appreciate that. So without further ado, please help me welcome my cousin, the equity coach and social justice facilitator, Miss Sacil Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad to be here, and I am happy to be with family to talk about some serious stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell
Yeah.
the folks where you're from, what you do, who you are.
Okay, well, I'm from Newport News. You know, I'm from Hampton Roads.
Mhm.
I live in Roanoke right now, but I am trying to get back to the water. I tell you what, I miss the water. I am not a mountain girl.
Okay.
And I am an equity coach and social justice facilitator, like you said.
Mhm.
And that means that I teach anti racism integrated with self care. A lot of people out there teach anti racism and talk about the history of racism and just focus on the facts. And when people talk about this kind of stuff, everybody gets all like tense and defensive. And so I integrate self care into what I teach so that people can increase their emotional capacity to be able to deal with these things without getting defensive so that we can actually be honest.
Love it, love it, love it. So I gotta pause. Our cousin Myra just said that mom is watching and she is so
Hey, Auntie, say, hey, Myra.
So, so Myra's mom is the matriarch of our family, and she is our great aunt.
Mm-hmm.
She would have been or is our grandmother's sister. She's the only one of the Hicks siblings that is still here with us. So we pay tribute to her as well. So tell me, how do you get involved in becoming an equity coach and a social justice facilitator?
Well, it happened naturally. I have always been somebody who was about social justice. I got a degree in public relations, and I worked for nonprofits for most of my career.
Mhm.
And I worked at the library. My absolute favorite job, besides working for myself, was when I was a weed and seed coordinator, and so I headed up a Department of Justice grant to
Uh-huh.
reduce violent crime in a high crime, low income neighborhood, and I
Okay.
absolutely loved it. And that was social justice. I was, teaching people how to stand up for themselves, teaching people their rights, and helping them expand their own power, to
Awesome.
ask government for what they needed and to hold people accountable.
Okay.
And while I loved that job, it stressed me out.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
yeah,
What neighborhood or what community was that?
that was downtown Newport News.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool.
That was downtown, and I had that job for about 5 years until they eliminated my position. And when I left that job, I was so stressed. I slept for like a week. And my treat to myself, I had already been doing what's called the Zentangle method, which is basically abstract artist meditation. And my treat to myself was to go to Rhode Island for a week and get certified to teach. And
Wow.
learning how to do that and add that to my self-care kit was life changing. It was life altering for me. And so even though I continued to be involved with social justice, I was doing this art on the side. And
Mhm.
then it hit me, if this is helping me, it would help other people. And so I just started combining the two. And,
Mhm.
and then, just was like, okay, well, I need to work that into my title so people know what I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I used to see your art on social all the time, and that's
Mhm.
more of what I knew in terms of what you did professionally. So all of this other social justice piece is all new to me, but
Okay.
I'm excited about it. Because it's really perfect for such a time as this, for
Mhm.
what we got going on right now in the world today, especially here in
Yes.
these United States of America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been
So,
doing the social justice piece for a minute, so you might see the other stuff because I have pictures. The
yeah,
social justice stuff doesn't necessarily come with photos, so.
exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna dive on in. So we're
Okay.
talking about racism, anti-racism, self-care.
Mhm.
So racism, how do you define racism?
Racism is a system, and where people get caught up is because so many people want to define racism as a behavior, and they want to label people. But racism is actually a system. It is what America was actually founded on,
Mm,
and so. When people are being what most people call racist, they're actually being bigots.
mm,
And if we can see racism as a system, then people can kind of remove themselves from, I don't want to be called a racist, and I'm going to do everything in my power to not be associated with that. There's no way that you can grow up in America and not be associated with it because it's in everything.
mhm,
It's if we were founded with slavery, embedded in the Constitution, embedded in our laws. If we were founded with that, then there's no way that any of us can grow up without being embedded in the racist system. And
mhm.
so, racism is anything that upholds that system, whether you are actively upholding the status quo or upholding it by not doing anything. That's
Okay.
racism. And anti-racism is anything that challenges the racist system. So any action that you take that challenges the status quo, that makes people think differently, that calls out the racism to the front, so that people actually see it and can see it for what it is, and then challenge that. That's anti-racist, and that definition. I want to say the first person that I heard actually describe it that way was Dr. Ibram Kendi, and I love his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and his book, Stand from the Beginning. And so, if you have not heard of him, I encourage you to look him up. And when I heard his definition and read his books, that shifted the way that I was thinking and talking about race and racism.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very good. So let me ask you this. Do you believe that the systems in America can be fixed?
No, I don't. If you're asking about like the police and stuff, when people are talking about defund the police, I completely agree,
Mm,
because systems like policing came about because they began as like slave catchers.
Right.
And if the system is founded and created through a racist system, then it can't be what's the word? It can't be altered. You're not going to change people's minds. You have to create something new. So I completely support defunding the police and using those funds for preventive measures. And having run Weed and Seed for 5 years and seeing what grassroots preventive measures can do to reduce violent crime in a high crime, low income area, I know this stuff works. And so I'm all about taking the money that would be used to police, especially Black and Brown communities, because they are over policed, and using that money to fund social services. And on top of that, police officers are required to do so many things that they're not trained for. They're expected to, be social workers and, childcare and all of this other stuff that they're not trained for. If they're trained,
counselors and therapists.
yes, all of that. And so if you actually use the money for people who are trained to do those things and direct the funds there, direct the calls to those institutions that are already in place, then I think we would have a more equitable society. We'd have a more humane way to treat the ills of society. If you can give people what they need, instead of just punishing them for reacting when they don't have the support that they need in the first place.
All right, so put a pin in that right quick. I see two people that I need to give a shout out to. My mom is watching.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Hey.
And my sister is watching. Hey, Shay.
Hey,
All right. So you talked about equitable. So, I think sometimes we get equity and equality confused. So give a little bit of clarity as it relates to equity versus equality.
Okay, well, this is why I call myself an equity coach, because there is a difference between equity and equality. Equality is everybody has the same. And equity is giving people what they need so that we all have the same chance. And an example that I use is if you've got three families, one family has $5, one has 10, and one has 15, and it costs $15 for them to, get their groceries. If you give everybody $5, that first family is still only going to have 10. They're not going to have enough to get their groceries. That second family will have the $15 to get their groceries. And then that third family that already has $15 is going to have $5 they can put in savings. That's equality, because everybody got the same.
Right.
Equity would be giving that first family with the $5, giving them 10 so that they can actually feed their family for the week, and giving the second family $5 because they need that in order to have their $15 to feed their family. And then the third family doesn't need anything for groceries because they've already got $15.
Yes. Great example. Great example. Okay.
Thank you.
So when we talk about the racism and anti-racism, as I asked, you don't believe that since racism is a system, you don't believe that the system can be fixed. So what do you believe is the solution to, everything? It exists in every aspect of America.
It does.
So we can't just throw the whole country away.
No, we can't.
So what do you suggest?
The solution is to teach the truth. Right now, we all grow up learning the American myth. That's what we're taught in school. We're taught that white men created this country and women and people of color or sidekicks or not involved at all. The solution is to teach the facts. In the courses that I teach, I do intensives, I do workshops with companies, and all of them, regardless of what the outcome they're looking for, all of them start with history. Because when you teach people the facts, they automatically start changing their mind. When people find out that racism was embedded in the laws of this country in the beginning, when I can show them year by year how the colony of Virginia added laws year by year that dehumanized Black people, when they find out that, people were intermarrying, that, even though there was racism around, that people were still, Blacks and whites were getting married and having families, and that the colony decided that if you were going to, marry across races, that you couldn't stay in the colony because they didn't want people to intermarry, because then when they passed laws that were going to dehumanize Black people, people would say, wait a minute, that's my wife, that's my husband, those are my kids, so I'm not going to have that. And so if you were going to intermarry, you had to leave the colony, because then they couldn't create the narrative that they wanted. When I can show people how these laws were enacted and how it was little by little until we got to the Slave Acts of 1705, when they finally said that if you're a person of color, you're not human and you are property. When they see how that built up, then they go, oh my God, I had no idea. Why didn't I learn this in school? And I've had like retired teachers that have been in my courses that taught history and didn't know the facts that I was showing them. And it automatically changes people's minds. So I think if we learn the history, then that's going to shift things. And then the second thing is helping people to see where they're defensive about it. Most of my students are white. And so once we start talking about the history, the second part is this is where the self-care comes in. I have them to breathe and get into their bodies and express what they're feeling and take ownership of feeling defensive and wanting to justify things. And once we can get past their defensiveness and have them like break down and cry and go ahead and admit that you're afraid of Black people and you don't want to be, go ahead and say that out loud. And then look at the facts and how you were raised and taught to be afraid. And then once you see the facts, and then they go, I'm already ready to change my mind. I'm already ready to do something different. And people who come into my class afraid to stand against racism because they don't want to be called out and they don't want to do things wrong, by the time they learn the facts and get in touch with what they're feeling, then they're like, okay, I have the courage now because I know the facts. I see my own defensiveness and I'm past that. I'm ready to stand up and say something.
Wow. I'm blown away because and the reason I am is because I think I have seen where some white friends or acquaintances have tried to speak out specifically on social media and basically shamed, you know what I'm saying? Like ridiculed or kind of down, because they're trying to stand up for what, they believe is right now that they have a better understanding of the history and that sort of thing.
Right.
And then they've shut it down from the standpoint of now I don't want to even try to communicate or try to right because, folks are attacking me. It's like, I'm being called
right.
All sorts of things, right?
Right. So, and they're told that they need to stay in their lane, right?
Exactly. And it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable place to be.
Very.
But it's the right place to be.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. But if you're going to speak out, you do need to have some facts so that when somebody comes at you and says, this isn't your place to say that, you can say, wait a minute, I know my history. And I say my history because Black history is American history. So white people can say, I know my history and I know how racism was embedded in society. And so I do have a right to speak up and to say something. Yeah. And I think that's where white people in particular fall into this trap of, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to be attacked. If they learn the history of America, then when somebody says you need to be quiet, they can say, no, I don't, because Black history is American history and I know it. And this is what why I can speak out.
Yes. Okay. Real quick. Shouts out to Nisa in Maryland. And Myra said she wants to take your class.
Okay.
So Ursula, who's here in Tallahassee, said Ursula is former Army. She said, after my first trip to the Equal Justice Museum, I walked outside feeling very bad because I knew that this American system could not be repaired. The entire American system has to be dismantled. And
I agree.
Okay. So we start out with the history lesson. We start out with allowing them to, so history lesson number 1. Number 2 is allowing them to sit in their feelings.
Sit with their discomfort, yes.
They need to experience it. They need to cry, scream, whatever they need to do.
Whatever they need to do.
Okay. Yeah. Breathe.
Oh my God. Yeah, breathe for sure. If you don't breathe, you can't feel your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so we breathe a lot in my classes.
Okay.
We pause and we breathe and we check in with what we're feeling in our bodies.
Okay.
Because if you don't know what you're feeling, then you can't process it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you feel like the next step is after that?
After that, you actually learn what anti-racism is and you learn how to challenge the system. Because people hear the term anti-racism and they think that saying I'm against racism makes you an anti-racist, but it doesn't.
Okay.
Challenging the racist system is what makes you an anti-racist.
Okay.
And so that takes action.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I talk about this, I'll give you an example. I did a workshop for a group of coaches with the International Coaching Federation a few months ago. And one of the women in the workshop, one of the coaches in the workshop, shared with me that she had gone to the Social Security Administration one day, and all these people were walking in. This was before COVID. All these people were walking in, and the security guard was standing there just, letting everybody in. And then a Black family came in, and the security guard stopped them and wanted them before he let them go in. And she saw it, and she said her stomach just went, ugh, because she knew that they got stopped because they were Black, because all the white people were just allowed to go in. And what she did was go over to the family and say, I see what happened, and I'm really sorry that happened to you. It just really makes me feel bad, and I'm really sorry. And so what she figured out by the time we had finished our workshop was what she did was share empathy, but it wasn't anti-racist because she didn't challenge the system. She showed sympathy to the victims and she let them know that they were seen. But in order for that to be an anti-racist action, she would have had to say something to the security guard.
Oh.
Right. And it doesn't have to be challenging. She didn't have to get into space and be like, oh, you are racist because you only wanted the Black people.
Right.
She could have done something like in a joking way when she saw them get wanted and say, oh, you know what? You didn't want me. You forgot to want me. But what that would have done was, number one, bring it to the security guard's attention, because the security guard may not have been like thinking to himself, oh, I'm going to warn the Black folks. It could have just been, so ingrained in the way he thought and the way he operated that he just did it without even thinking about it. So by saying something, that would have brought it to his attention and it would have let him know that people were watching. All right. The second thing it would have done was call it to the attention of all the other white people that had just walked in, because I guarantee you not every white person noticed or cared. And so by saying something out loud, it would have brought it to the attention of all the white people. And then the white people who saw it and also had that same ill kind of feeling would have seen an example of how to stand up. And so that would have been another way that it was challenging the system. And then by standing up and saying that, even if she hadn't said anything to the Black family that had been wanted, they still would have known that they were seen, and they would have seen that somebody who had the power was standing up for them. Because if the Black family had asked the security guard, why are you wanting us? Regardless of how they said it, they would have been seen as an agitator. People would have been looking at them like, oh, there they go again, trying to start something. Why can't they just be quiet and just let it happen?
Playing the race card.
Yes, exactly. And so as a white person, if she had said something to the security guard, it would have had like this ripple effect, because the family would have known they were seen. The security guard would have been put on notice that people are watching. Other white people would have seen how to stand up. That would have been challenging the system, and it would have started changing minds.
Wow.
So that's an anti-racist action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this. How do I want to ask this? Does policy change serve as an example of an anti-racist action?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes. Yes. Policy change can definitely be an anti-racist action. And that starts with organizations admitting that the policies that they have in place are not anti-racist. It starts with admitting that the organizations are already more open to white people, more open to men than they are to women and people of color. It starts with admitting that, doing the referral thing, inviting your friends and people that are in your social circle automatically excludes everybody else that's not already a part of that social circle. And when your social circle and the people who are your colleagues are already white, and you don't have, Black colleagues, even though you know that there are Black people that are in your field, but if they're not in your circle, then you're excluding people. And so it starts by admitting that, and then coming up with ways that you can start to, expand your circle, start bringing in people of color, start actually interacting with people who are in your field who don't look like you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So definitely an acknowledgement and recognition on the part of the organizations and
Yes.
leadership for that
Oh,
matter.
yes.
Yeah.
It has to start with leadership, because if it starts with the employees, it can often get shut down by leadership. But if you get the buy-in from leadership, and leadership says, yes, we want to make these changes, then the changes are going to happen all the way down. And the businesses that I've worked with, when we do the same thing with the history, and then acknowledging your feelings, and then talking about anti-racism, and then what does anti-racism look like for your industry, and then what does it look like specifically for your company. And some of the businesses that I've worked with have completely changed the way they operate. I mean, they have reached out to colleagues of color that they normally don't interact with, and they now have formed partnerships, and they're, changing the way they do their referrals, and even the way they operate on social media. Instead of just highlighting their colleagues who they're the most comfortable with, they're actually making sure that they're highlighting people of color more often, and they started off with, okay, we're going to make sure that once a week, one person that we connect with and highlight is a person of color. But then when I go back and see how they're, faring months down the road, and it ends up that, it's like half and half. And they tell me that they're getting so much more out of it than they knew. They didn't even realize what they were missing. And that's what they tell me. I didn't even know what I was missing. And, my business is doing so much better. And I'm getting clients who are people of color that never paid attention to me before. And it's because they're actually, broadening their base, and opening up to the possibility of working with people who don't look like them.
That is awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. Love it. Love it. So one of my faithful viewers, Johnny, wants to know, where do you teach and what is the name of the courses?
Okay. Well, I teach online, and my website is sacilarmstrong.com. That's my business. And if you go there, then you will see a list of my courses. I'm actually in the process of revamping some of them. So if you don't see a date on some, it is coming probably within the next week. But my core course that I teach right now is Practical Steps to Fighting Racism. And that is a half-day intensive. It's 4 hours, and I call it an intensive on purpose because it is intense. And that history, and looking at yourself, and the self-care, and then the anti-racism, I pack all of that into 4 hours. And then I also offer a class. The one that I'm going through right now is Self-Care for 2020. And that's the self-care program specifically for the times that we're going through right now. Yeah.
So needed. So needed.
And that I offer because so many people don't understand what self-care is. They think that, if I take a bath once a week, or I could take a vacation every once in a while, that's self-care. And people don't understand self-care is a daily ritual. It's like brushing your teeth. You've got to do something to take care of yourself every day, or else you are going to be overwhelmed, and you are just going to feel like, how do I even get out of this funk to function?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So before we get to self-care, Nisa made a comment. She said, I'm the first Black to work in the position I work in at a social service.
Wow.
Our director recognized that the agency needed to open positions to people of color to serve people of color.
Exactly. Exactly. Awesome.
So you find that often, I think, especially in nonprofit organizations, where a lot of times their constituents or clientele is mostly minority, but they have no minority leadership or level managers or directors, for that matter, executive directors or CEOs or anything like that.
Yep.
So
Having worked in nonprofit for most of my career, I have seen it. Yes.
I have too, because I have as well.
And then what you get with that dynamic, you get this paternalistic attitude, like I know better and let me show you. Like people that are coming for help don't know that stuff already. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, we got Lauri on here. Lauri was on last week, actually. We talked about accountability partners and
Um,
masterminds.
yes.
Yes.
Accountability partners are like everything. I love mine.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So let's shift some. You were actually getting ready to start, talking about self-care and,
Yes.
the importance of self-care,
Mm-hmm.
especially in doing the anti-racism work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
let's dive in.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, let me define it. Okay.
Okay.
Self care is consistently doing what's necessary for you to have your optimal state of well being. And when I say what's necessary, that means taking good physical care of yourself. It means being aware of your emotional health. It means being aware of your mental state. It means taking good care of yourself professionally, socially, I mean, spiritually, it's all aspects of you. This is a holistic thing.
Mhm.
And the thing that people get confused about with self care is they'll think, well, I drink enough water, I exercise. Why am I still feeling, out of sorts? I do self care. That's the physical part. And if what you need is emotional self care, doing more physical self care isn't going to make you feel better.
True.
Yeah.
True.
hmm
Okay.
So, so in my self care courses, the one that I have right now is a 3-part workshop, and then the first thing that we do in the first session is do a self assessment, so
Okay.
that people can figure out what are you already doing well, what do you know how to do well, where are you not doing so well, and what do you want to work on? Because even if you think you do everything well, you wouldn't be in the course if you thought you did everything well. But even if you think you're doing everything okay, and you need to choose what do you want to work on, and people that are in my class always want to try to work on everything, and I'm like, no. All right, you're going to decide what do you think, where do you think you need improvement, and then we're going to choose just one or two things that we're going to work on.
Okay.
And once we do the self-assessment, then we start doing exploration, because people have not explored what works for them. And if you don't know what works for you, then you don't know how to self-soothe. And so we have them experiment with different types of music, and we write everything down so that you have your self-care kit at the end. And people are always shocked in the first segment when I'm talking about, these are the things you need to know about yourself. Because when we talk about music, I can tell you, Sade Lover's Rock always calms me down. All right, Regina Carter, jazz violinist, her Paganini After a Dream. If I can't focus, if I can't concentrate, I can put that CD on, and I know that is going to get me to a place where I can focus.
Okay.
And everybody should know not just what style of music works for you, but know what CD you can go to. If you just say, oh, I like hip hop and that makes me dance, that's great that makes you happy. But does that energize you and get you to a place where you can be calm and actually make good decisions? And like I said, I know Sade's Lovers Rock and Regina Carter's Paganini After a Dream. I don't care what I'm feeling like. If I can listen to those two things, I can get myself to that mental state.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So I think, you've hit on a number of things, but definitely something that I'm always saying is how important it is to know yourself
Yes.
and to do away with those things that are no longer serving you well.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
When I do my meditations, I say that all the time. Let go of whatever is not in your highest good.
And then identifying those things that will serve you well.
Exactly.
Whether that's a favorite treat that you eat, or music that you listen to, or you're doing some art, or going for a walk, or whatever it is.
You need to have a list of all of it, because everything may not work all the time. Sometimes you need the walk. Sometimes you need the music. Sometimes you need to know that standing barefoot in the grass is the thing that's going to ground you. So you need to have all of those things in your kit and know them. Know yourself well enough that when you're feeling out of sorts, you know which thing is going to serve you in that moment.
Yes, for me, it's being at the beach.
Girl.
Right.
Being home this week, yeah, I have been getting my feet in the water
Mhm.
as much as possible.
Yes, 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 yes. So, Lauri said, "To thine own self be true.
Yes,
To
girl.
thine own self
Yep.
be true." But it's
Mhm.
work, right? I
It
mean,
is.
we say that, but a lot of times who we are presenting as isn't necessarily who we really are. And we
Exactly.
haven't taken the time to really explore that.
Exactly. If you don't know yourself, you can't be true to yourself.
Hmm.
And we aren't taught this kind of stuff in school. They're teaching us the American myth and not teaching us critical thinking and self-care.
Right.
And I really think that if people were learning facts about our history and then learning critical thinking and then self-care, that this would be a completely different country.
Hmm.
But I understand why it's not set up that way, because if people were taught facts, our actual history and critical thinking, then we would question the status quo, and that would challenge the people in power.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we have been on a bit of a roller coaster ride since,
Yeah.
I mean, really starting before 2020, but with
Hmm.
Arbery, with Breonna Taylor, with George Floyd.
Yes.
And so George Floyd, I mean, that sent the shot around the world,
I
right?
haven't even watched the video.
Yeah, I mean, but it just did. It just
It
did,
did.
sort of in
Hmm.
the same way that Trayvon Martin did, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
now, I don't know,
Hmm.
it's like the blinders are kind of taking off,
Hmm.
as
If
a
you don't see
result.
it now, it's because you don't want to, not because you can't.
So, how do we have daily self care while we're trying to deal with bigots, while we're trying to deal with our white, and I'm speaking as a Black woman,
Hmm.
our white co-workers, colleagues, acquaintances, associates, and friends that are trying to figure it out. I mean, I've had a couple that have called me to be like, basically kind of checking in to make sure they're okay, that-
Hmm.
making sure that they're okay,
Right.
right?
They want validation that they're a good white
That
person.
they're down, that they're good white people,
Uh-huh.
that sort of thing. Um,
Hmm.
and just trying to check in. Like, I'm
Hmm.
also asking if I'm okay
Yeah.
in the midst of all of what's going on. So,
Hmm.
it's been a lot. It's
Yeah.
been, I've had
It
to have
is a lot.
really um open conversations with people in terms of, my Black experience.
Hmm.
And, one of the things that I think is it's been tough for folks to get that don't live in the skin that we live in
Hmm.
is that this experience is not a monolith, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
no, Black experience, two Black experiences are the same, even within the
Hmm.
same household. You can
Right.
be different, just based
Hmm.
on the personalities. But,
Right.
probably the one thing that we do for the most part have in common in these United States of America is some type of prejudice or discrimination or
Hmm.
bias or what have
Hmm.
you against us because of the skin that we're in.
Right. Right.
So how do we navigate all of this, and incorporate some self-care in order to, be our best selves as we try to navigate this?
Well, the first thing that I recommend to any and everybody, whether you're white or Black, if you're trying to maintain your center so that you can deal with all of this, is to breathe. And
Okay.
you've got to breathe through your belly, because if you are not belly breathing, you are not experiencing your feelings. And if you're not experiencing them, that means that you are stuffing them down and they are going to get in your way later on.
Hmm.
So you have to breathe so that you can fully feel what you're feeling, and then you can let it go.
Okay.
Most of us, especially as adults, we start off as little kids, we're breathing in our belly, we don't know any better. Then when we get older and people start hurting our feelings, and we're trying to hold it in and not cry, and what we do is breathe in our chest,
Mm.
and then that becomes our norm. And
Mm.
so we're all breathing up here and not experiencing our feelings, and then when we have a breakdown, we're like, where's this coming from? And
Mm.
it's because it's all built up because you stopped breathing in your belly.
You done said something right there, 'cause baby. Listen, and you know what happens is that we suppress so much. I think especially as
Mhm.
Black women, I'm about to
Yes.
say it right now, especially as Black women.
Mhm.
So we got to be strong. We got to hold it
Oh
together.
my God.
We can,
Yeah.
nobody can really see us kind of break down. We got to take care of this one and that one, the spouse,
Mhm.
the
And
children,
then we put ourselves last.
the friends, the coworkers, the church members, the
Mhm.
everybody. And
Mhm.
so we are holding that stuff, and
Mhm.
then something happens that triggers it, and baby.
Yep.
Mm.
I had one woman that I worked with, and she told me she breathed in her chest while she slept. She said, I can't afford to breathe in my belly.
Mm.
And because, when I was trying to work with her and I was like, look, I need you to just pause for a minute and just like, relax those tummy muscles and just breathe. She was like, I can't because I don't know what's going to happen. And I was like, don't
God.
you breathe through your belly at least when you sleep? And she was like, no. She was like, I can't afford to. She didn't want to. But I worked with her for a while and finally got her to relax enough to breathe through her belly for a little bit. And she cried and cried and cried.
Bet. She needed to cry for about a week.
I know.
Girl, no.
Yeah, but she was like, I breathe through my chest when I sleep, and that right there, I was ready to cry hearing that.
That hurt my heart just thinking about that.
Mhm.
Lord have mercy.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah, so that is like number one. If you don't know how to do anything else, learn how to breathe through your belly.
okay.
That
Got it.
is like foundation for everything else.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Anything else in terms of self-care?
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, the doctor tells you to take a deep breath, and it's up here.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
True. Very true. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anything else we can do for self-care?
Yes, yes. If you don't know how to meditate, I highly recommend that you do some meditation because that gets you in your body. A lot of us spend so much time in our mind and we spend so much time dissociated from our bodies that we don't even know. That's another way we don't know what we're feeling. And so if, one thing is to breathe, that's one way to meditate. But if you aren't comfortable with that, there are so many other ways to meditate and you can find a way that works for you because that is going to get you in your body and that is going to get you aligned with everything else that's going on with you. So you're going to be able to feel yourself physically. You'll be able to feel where your spirit is. You'll be able to experience your emotions. And learning how to meditate and doing that on a regular basis will just bring you so much more into alignment and have it make it easier for you to make decisions and to know when you're on the right path. I cannot recommend meditation enough. And I just want to let people know that you don't have to sit, with your legs crossed and doing a mudra and chanting. There are so many different ways to meditate. I think I had mentioned that, I went to Rhode Island and learned how to be a certified Zentangle teacher. Well, that is basically using abstract art as meditation. For those days where I cannot sit still and just breathe, I can grab my pen and a piece of paper and I can do art as meditation. There are guided meditations. There, you can use music. You can do it in silence. You can sit outside in the grass to help you get grounded. There are so many different ways to meditate, and it is so important. I think they should teach it in school. Everybody should know how to do this because
Absolutely.
it shifts your consciousness, it shifts your thinking. And if you can get in the habit of doing this, especially if you can do it in the morning, it sets the tone for the rest of your day. If you can start your day in your body, in your power, being in alignment with your feelings and having your power and knowing how you want to move forward through your day, it just changes everything.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I've probably been meditating for about 8 years now.
Mhm.
And it's been a love-hate relationship because according to my meditation instructor, we're supposed to meditate twice a day for 20 minutes in the
Mhm.
morning and in the afternoon/evening.
Mhm.
So it used to be the morning when I had no problem, but now on the road to Media Mogul, I get out of the bed and I'm just on the phone or sending emails, texting. Yeah,
Mhm.
I just jump out
Oh, okay.
Now it's like the afternoon one is the more accessible one to me because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, ooh, okay, I need a little break, so let me
Mm-hmm.
go do this. But I tell you, I feel so much better when I meditate.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point now because, and this is a moment of transparency for me. I
Mm-hmm.
am both a night owl and an early bird, which is horrible.
Okay.
It means I get very little sleep.
Yeah.
Um, but I can tell when I'm really exhausted because I will fall asleep when I meditate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that means
Yeah.
I'm burning the
That means you are
candle.
burning.
Yes,
Yes.
I am.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
when I'm not sleeping during the meditation, I get so much clarity on things, and
Mm-hmm.
just the thoughts flow, and things that I'm not even necessarily thinking about will
Mm-hmm.
bubble up, and I'll get answers to things.
Well, see, that's what meditation is. See, prayer is asking,
Mm,
and meditation is listening. So
mm,
when you get quiet and you meditate, you get those answers because you're not seeking, you're letting them come to you.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
see, I meditate in the mornings and I don't always want to, but I do because I know it sets me up for the rest of the day. And so
Yes.
when I get up in the morning, most of the time, if it's not too hot, I will go outside
Mm,
because sitting on the ground just does something. It just like it pulls my body in and it gets me in alignment. And then I say my affirmations. And as I sit there and say my affirmations, my spirit just gets bigger. And
okay.
I feel my body tingle and I feel my spirit just expand. And by the time I'm done, whatever it is I had planned for the day, I'm ready. I know that I can do it. And if I skip that, and just get up and go right into doing what I want to do for the day,
Yeah.
I'm not always making the right decisions, not
Yeah.
always on the right path, and kind of get confused and then have to back up a little bit, but if I start in the morning with that meditation, it's
Mm,
like, all right, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and my day just kind of rolls.
love it, love it, love it. So you mentioned affirmations. Would that be another form of self-care?
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Affirmations are definitely another form of self-care, and it's another thing that a lot of people don't understand because
Mhm.
people find affirmations on the internet and they think that okay, I'm going to write this down and stick it on the bathroom mirror, and I
Mhm.
will say it on my way out the door. I'm going to say yes, I love myself, and I look good today, or I'm successful, and you say it just one time and walk off, and that's your affirmation.
Mhm.
Um, but they're Somebody that's sitting on the ground gets me eaten up.
Put your towel down, Lauri. A
I
blanket.
was going to say, you can sit on the blanket.
Yeah.
But affirmations are another good way to actually rewire your brain.
Mm.
But it's not just saying something to make yourself feel better. There's actually a science behind affirmations,
Okay.
and so there's things that go into effective affirmations. It's not all just saying good things about yourself.
Mm.
So there is some science behind it, and I actually go into that in my self-care for 2020 course
Okay.
about the
Okay.
science behind affirmations and how to find a good one or how to write your own.
All right. So
Yeah.
that's a good way to plug. So if you are interested in Sacil's class, you can go
That's right.
to SacilArmstrong.com for more information.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
Mr. Johnny wants to know how long is your meditation, or how long are your meditations?
Well, according to the science, that they say you should meditate for 20 minutes to start seeing a difference in the way you're rewiring your brain. But I have been meditating for I don't know how many years, and I can tell you I don't meditate for exactly 20 minutes every day. Some mornings, if all I can do is 5 minutes, that's all I can do.
Mm,
Some mornings, if I stay for 30, 45 minutes because I am in the zone and I have got the time, then that's what I do.
mm,
I know for people starting out, 20 minutes is a good goal, but a lot of people can't sit still for that long. A lot of people can't focus for that long. So if you start out with just 2 or 3 minutes, I think that's fine. And then you just build up. Um,
mm.
so, like I said, some days I do 5 minutes and that's about as much as I can do. But I know that I'm going to come back the next day and do like 10, 15, or 20. So it balances out.
Awesome. So I think that's a good segue for our next portion, which is we're going to do a mini meditation, a short meditation for those
Yeah.
who have not done a meditation before. This is a good time to get a feel for what that feels like. And for those of
Mhm.
us who did not do one today, this is a good opportunity for you to get one in.
Yes.
All right. So
All
Cecilia
right.
will lead us.
I sure will. And I had meant to have some music set up, but I didn't put up my speaker. So we're just going to do this one with no music.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to invite everyone to sit up straight.
All right. Y'all
I
sit
want
up
you to sit up
straight.
straight. And the reason I want you to sit up straight is because I want you to have enough room for your belly to expand. Okay.
Okay.
So we are going to relax our tummy muscles. We are not sucking in our stomach, trying to look cute. We are letting it all hang out. It doesn't matter who's around, just let it hang out.
Okay.
All right. Sit up straight. I want you to close your eyes. And then I just want you to let your belly expand as you inhale. And then just notice how it feels as your belly contracts on your exhale. And with your next inhale, I want you to focus on the physical sensation. Notice what it feels like as the air enters your nostrils. Notice how the air hits the back of your throat. And as your belly expands, I want you to notice that it's not just going forward. When you inhale, you can feel your sides expand. You can feel it in your back. And I want you to breathe naturally. You don't have to try to breathe slower or faster. Just breathe naturally. And with every exhale, I want you to notice what it feels like as your muscles contract. And you feel that air on the back of your throat. And you can feel how it's so much warmer as it exits your nose. And continue to focus on your physical sensations. And that brings you into your body. And now, with every exhale, I want you to let go of whatever you're holding on to that is no longer serving you. So if you're holding on to fear, let it go on the exhale. If you're holding on to stress, I want you to breathe it out. Let go of whatever is not in your highest good. And as you exhale those things that are no longer useful to you, you are making space for something that is so much better. So I want you to inhale love. I want you to inhale all the goodness that the universe has for you. And so continue to exhale what doesn't serve you and continue to inhale the light and the love that the universe has and is just waiting for you to accept. And as you inhale this love and light, I want you to feel how your body gets lighter. I want you to feel that tingling sensation. I want you to feel your spirit expand. And I want you to know that you deserve this, that you are worthy, that this is already waiting for you. You don't have to do anything to earn it. This is yours. All you have to do is accept. And bring your attention back to the physical sensation of breathing. I want you to feel very grounded in your body. And let's take one deep belly breath. And on this final exhale, if you're feeling solid and grounded in your body, then you can go ahead and open your eyes.
All right. Nice.
Okay.
Lauri said she got a lavender oil. And Johnny said, don't go to sleep. Johnny, I almost nodded for a minute there, but I was watching, so I kept it together. Nice.
Nice.
See, that was simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but simple isn't always easy. So.
True. No, thank you for that. I really
Oh,
appreciate
you're welcome.
that. Hopefully you all found peace and comfort and grounding in that exercise. And you can do that too on a daily basis.
Okay. Oh, I see my friend Darrell is on. Hey,
Darrell.
Darrell.
She writes on the wall, on the mirror to remind herself. So, yes. Love it. All right. So Johnny said he enjoyed it. Good.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad.
Yes. All right. Shay said
that was dope. All right, Shayla.
Cool. So yeah, meditation. We all need to be doing that every day.
Yes.
Every day. All right, good deal. Whew, well, I mean, I could talk to you for another hour, but
girl, yeah, I could talk about this stuff all day long.
I know you could. So anything you want to share in closing?
In closing, I just want to remind everybody of what I was saying during the meditation. Okay, we are worthy. We spend so much time beating up on ourselves, feeling that we're not good enough, we're not doing enough. And I just want to remind you that as long as you are striving to do better, then you're doing what you're supposed to do. All right. And so I would highly encourage you to start meditating so that you can set yourself up for success in the morning. And if you are looking for any kind of training for anti-racism, if you have a business that you want to recommend that needs to have some kind of anti-racism training so that we can actually start to flip this system, because I am all about, changing that. I don't believe that we can reform the system. I think that we have to actually start doing something different. We've got to learn the facts. We've got to get in touch with our bodies and what we're feeling, and then we got to get out there and do something. So if you are ready to become an anti-racist and understand what that is and how you have the power to make the change, then feel free to reach out to me. My email is bebrave@SacilArmstrong.com. So go ahead and hit me up with an email, check out my website. And like I said, I will be putting up new dates for my self-care for 2020 and for my anti-racism intensives. And I would love to hear from you. Whatever questions you got, just shoot them to me and I will get back with you.
Love it. So we had a lot of great responses. Vonzel said that meditation was great.
Awesome.
Right here in town. And Mom just said, I learned so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So will you all do me a favor? Be brave is something that Sacil often states. And when she's closing out on her IG video. So when y'all type be brave in the comments for me, just everybody, just type in be brave. Because we want to encourage you to be brave.
Exactly.
You got to be courageous in 2020, right? If we're going to make it through the pandemic, the social injustice, the all of what we're going through, we're going to have to be brave.
We have to be.
Self-care.
Who's going to do it for us, right?
Right. Self-care and breathing and affirmations and meditation is very important. So
Mhm.
yes, I
And
love
that's brave in itself.
it.
You know, being able to sit with yourself is a brave thing.
It is. It is. I love it. Look at all these brave people. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So let's continue to
Awesome.
do that. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's look at Susan on here. So that's another one of my cousins in Virginia. Love it. Yes. Love it.
So it's all family all night, right?
The family affair. I tagged them all. I wanted everybody to be here. My high school classmate Glenn is here. Thank you. Felicia, be brave. Yes, let's all embody that as we
Hmm.
go forward for the rest of the week, through the weekend, through the rest of this month, through the rest of this year.
Hmm.
Be brave. Be brave.
Yep.
Be
We
brave.
need it. We
Yes.
need it.
Yes. So, Cecile, again, I must thank you for being my
Hey, Mara.
Yes, Myra said she enjoyed it, and Lauri also
Yeah.
just journaling as well. So
Journaling is good. I actually cover the different types of journaling and when to use them in the self-care for 2020 class. So yeah, journaling is powerful.
yes, it is. Yes, it
Hmm.
is. So definitely thank you again for
Thank you.
being my guest. I definitely have to have you come back because I know there's much more that you could talk about.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
But thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. For those of you who are new to the platform, I definitely have to invite you to check out Conversations with Nicole on YouTube. This episode will be on YouTube, so you can catch the replay there if you like. And then also, my partner Gerald and I have started our own network, Greater Works Network, which is on Roku TV. So if you have a Roku TV, or a Roku player or Roku stick, you can add us as a channel. This show actually is being streamed right now on Roku TV. So if you have a
Oh,
Roku
that is so
TV
cool.
and you plug in Greater Works Network, we are right here live. So connect with us. We have a content creators contest going on right now. Say that fast 3 times. Which will be ending on September 14th. But you can go to our website, greaterworks.network, and get more information about it. Greaterworks.network. All right. So that again, there's Cecile's email address, be brave at cecilearmstrong.com. If you have any questions for her, by all means, reach out and communicate
Yep.
with her. Yep, absolutely. All right. You all have a good rest of the evening. Thanks again, Cecile, and we'll see you.
Thank you. Yeah. Fierce love, y'all. Fierce
Fierce
love.
love, fierce love. Be brave.
Be brave.